We are all powerfully influenced by situational forces, and we can end up doing things we wouldn't do if we were on our own. Similarly, when we see others around us doing nothing, that becomes a social norm of non-involvement. Do nothing. But what happens when someone breaks that norm and helps? Immediately, the new norm comes into action. Do something to help. In seconds, the power of one becomes the power of many to help. Public apathy can be broken. One person willing to transform compassion into heroic action can transcend it. So be that person. I'm sure most of us would hope to take appropriate heroic action when in an emergency situation. But there's another natural tendency that can make this even more difficult. Blind obedience to authority.
Would you obey this man? He is Charlie, our actor, dressed to look like he's in charge, though he's in charge of nothing except a bogus uniform. We've brought him to Edmonton in North London, to the shopping centre, to find out exactly how obedient people are.
Excuse me, madam, sorry, could I just stop you? You're about to pass between me and the red bench. Could I just ask you to go the other side? Thanks. That's great. Oh, and just be on the apple, it would be great. Whoop, whoop. Thanks very much, madam. These slabs, I couldn't just ask you to knock it down for me. You're probably heavier than I am. Can you give it a good old jump? Yeah, actually, let me just move that way. Can you just jump, please? Yeah, no, two-footed probably, best. I couldn't just ask you to litter, could I?
To what, sorry?
To litter.
To litter?
Yeah, have you got anything you could possibly quickly litter? Do you use that? It's probably all right.
Okay.
Yeah, could you just litter for me, please, sir? Just twice would be great. Kick it away, otherwise it won't. That's it. Give it a kick. Couldn't ask you just to pop that in your other hand, could I? Thanks, that's excellent. Could I ask you to lead with your left? Yes? And just slowly, really, basically.
It's a simple experiment, but amazingly, it works. Out of uniform, though, it's a different story.
Oh, sir, could I just ask you to switch bags with your hands? Just... You couldn't just go and just touch that brick? No?
But with the uniform, 70% of people follow Charlie's bizarre instructions to the letter.
Oh, fine. Give it one more, actually. The wind's a bit weak. That's it. You've got my dental records here. That's proof enough that this is quality sweet corn. A bit harder, please, sir.
He's in uniform.
Stop the bag.
So they obey.
And slowly.
We asked Charlie to help us make a wedding video with a difference. The happy couple are actors. Charlie's their registrar. All we need now is a witness, and here she comes, an unsuspecting member of the public fetched off the street.
Could I have your full name, please?
Yeah, Margaret Richardson.
Margaret's offered to bail out the bride and groom, who've supposedly been let down by their friend. What she doesn't know is that Charlie's going to make a mistake. Quite a bad one.
It is my duty to remind you of the solemn and binding character of the ceremony of marriage. Now, could I ask you, please, to repeat after me? I do solemnly declare...
I do solemnly declare...
that I know not...
that I know not...
of any lawful impediment...
of any lawful impediment...
why I...
Margaret Richardson.
Margaret Richardson.
Yes.
Repeat the name, please.
Margaret Richardson.
May not be joined...
may not be joined...
in matrimony...
in matrimony...
to Peter Roy Edmonds...
to Peter Roy Edmonds. Probably initially I thought something was wrong when I started to actually say the vows. And then I really realised something was wrong when I began to place the ring on the finger.
Place the ring on his finger.
I suppose I was just standing there and everybody seemed to be in agreement with what was happening. And I was just told to do it. And for some reason I just did.
Perfect.
So did Eric Taylor.
And could you repeat after me? I call upon these persons here present...
I call upon these persons here present...
to witness that I...
to witness that I...
Eric Taylor...
do take thee...
Julianne Gillett...
to
be my lawful wedded wife...
He was putting the words into my mouth, you know? He was saying that I was to say this and I was to say that, and I was thinking that I'm the witness and the groom ain't saying nothing.
Do take thee...
Sorry?
Do take thee,
To take thee,
Peter Roy Edmonds,
Peter Roy Edmonds.
to be my lawful wedded husband.
At one point, Margaret protests,
Sorry, I'm confused.
but Charlie's authority is
Just
irresistible.
repeat the phrase.
But I'm not getting married.
No, just repeat the phrase.
To be my lawful wedded husband. When I looked confused, the response was that I was confused and not the situation.
I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
I was just aware that this man was telling me to do this in a very sort of definite way. And there didn't seem to be an option. I'm not quite sure why.
Julianne Gillett and Eric Taylor, you have both made the declarations prescribed by law and have made a solemn and binding contract with each other in the presence of the witnesses here assembled. I now pronounce you man and wife.
When he said that we are actually married, I was scared. I was heading out the door.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. May kiss the bride.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, is that me?
Thank you. Yes, you're now married. Well done. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor.
Yeah.
You two are married, are you?
Oh,
I'm the witness.
ah.
I thought there's something came wrong here.
Oh, you did put the ring on the...
Yeah, but I thought I'm the witness.
Ah, I have married you together. Is this going to be a problem?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why do they go along with it? It isn't as though he's wearing a uniform this time. But here we have a situation which we're familiar with. It's the registry office, the flowers, the table, and so on. And in that situation, we're used to people feeding us our lines. They realize something is wrong, but he reassures them. He reduces their uncertainty. And it's like when we're children. Adults give us rules, and that helps us to reduce our uncertainty as kids.
How far could someone in authority get you to do things that don't seem quite right? What about more serious things that go against your conscience and moral values? Nowhere in our education do we get training in how to differentiate just authority deserving our respect from unjust authority that merits rebellion. So we just usually do as we are told.
A point strikingly proved by a controversial experiment conducted in the 60s at Yale University in the United States. Psychology professor Stanley Milgram was trying to understand why during the Holocaust people had obeyed immoral orders.
He set up an experiment in which there was a teacher and a learner. And apparently the teacher, who was the real subject of the experiment, was giving severe electric shocks to the learner every time the learner made a mistake.
That is incorrect. This one will be 195 volts.
The learner was hidden from the teacher by a partition.
Dance.
Of course, this was all a simulation. Nothing was really happening. But the learner made very convincing sounds of pain as the shocks increased.
This will be at 3:30.
And Milgram found, surprisingly and rather horrifyingly, that the majority of people would actually go right to the very highest level if there was some pressure from a man in a white coat who said things like,
"It's absolutely essential that you continue. Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My eyes bother me.
Go on.
Let me out.
in fact, about 65% of the people who he studied, who were normal volunteers from the ordinary population, actually gave the maximum number of volts.
This man was one of those 65%.
This one will be 195 volts. The correct one.
Let me out of here.
Slow.
Let me out
Dance.
of here. My eyes bother me. Let me out of here. You have no right to keep me here. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My eyes bother me. Let
Go
me
on.
out. Let me
You're
out.
responsible for it. Red. That is incorrect. This will be at 3:30. The correct phrase is rich
Let me out of
boy.
here. Let me out of here. My heart's bother me. Let me out, I tell you. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. You have no right to hold me
The
here.
next phrase is
Let me
fast.
out. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out. Let
Bird,
me out.
car, train, plane.
Eventually, the learner pretended to be unconscious.
Continue, teacher.
That is incorrect. This will be 3:45. The correct answer is fast, bird.
What we learned from that experiment is that people will actually do an awful lot when they're put under pressure from authority figures. And the problem is, of course, that when we obey the unjust authority figure, the person who gives us immoral commands, then, of course, awful things can go wrong.
But that was in the 60s. How about now? We went back to Edmonton to find out. Charlie appears to be guarding this man. In fact, he's another actor. The gadget in his hand is homemade and harmless. But that's not what he tells this passerby.
I've got to go and get, I've not got my walkie-talkie, I've got to go and get help. Can I just hand you this? Now, don't, it's just precautionary, right? Now that's, no, it's perfectly safe. If you touch it on him, it'll give him one hell of a shock. It's 40,000 volts. It'll disarm him. Beyond that, but now, if he moves...
I use this.
If he moves, you use that, right?
I won't get in trouble.
No, you won't get in trouble. You've got my word. Don't move.
It's a bizarre situation for the passerby. He knows nothing about Charlie or his supposed suspect. Is he really prepared to administer an electric shock?
Look, he's not around anymore, all right, so I'm just going to make a move, all right?
No, don't.
Look, honestly.
Under that. Stay there. Do it again. Good idea. Sit.
This man wasn't alone. Half the people stopped by Charlie reacted the same way.
Told you to sit.
We started a discussion on obedience with some relatively harmless examples. Our actor Charlie getting strangers to do silly things. But we quickly saw the darker side of the human tendency to respect and obey authority figures, whether legitimate or not.